Commander Min Jun Park stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony's Edge, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship was alone near Neptune, far from Earth's warmth and light. The mission was simple: check the new deep space sensors and return home. Nothing special, just another routine patrol. That changed when the sensors started screaming. "Sir," called Lieutenant Kim So-young from her station. "I'm reading massive energy signatures approaching our position. Multiple contacts. Very large." Park moved to her console and looked at the readings. His blood went cold. 200 ships were coming toward them at incredible speed. The vessels were unlike anything in Earth's databases. Long, sharp, and covered with weapon ports. "Are they responding to our communications?" Park asked. "Negative, sir. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, but it's not directed at us yet." Park nodded. First contact protocols were clear. Stay calm. Gather information. Try to communicate. Do not fire unless fired upon. The problem was that his ship carried no weapons worth mentioning. The Harmony's Edge was built for construction work, not battle. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Park had to admire their skill. 200 ships moving as one unit took serious training. The vessels were beautiful in a deadly way. Each one looked designed for one purpose: destroying other ships. The communications officer, Ensign Lee Dong-min, turned to face his captain. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's being translated automatically. Put it on screen." The view screen filled with the image of an alien commander. The being had gray skin, large black eyes, and wore what looked like military armor. When it spoke, its voice was deep and threatening. "Primitive species of the third planet. I am War Admiral Thexvor of the Zelkari Dominion. Your pathetic world has been selected for incorporation into our empire. We see you have sent one small ship to defend your entire planet. This shows either great bravery or great stupidity." Park kept his face calm. But inside, he was thinking fast. These aliens had made several wrong assumptions. First, they thought Earth was defenseless. Second, they thought his ship was a warship. Third, they seemed to believe humans would fight in the same way they did. "Surrender your vessel immediately," Thexvor continued. "You have one rotation of your planet to comply. After that, we will demonstrate why resistance is pointless. We will destroy your ship and then proceed to your world for conquest." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet for a moment. "Sir," asked Lieutenant Kim, "what are your orders?" Park thought about his options. He could run back to Earth, but the alien fleet was faster. He could try to fight, but that would be suicide. His ship had mining lasers and construction equipment, not weapons. There was a third option, but it was risky. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," he said. "Channel open, sir." Park stood straight and spoke clearly. "War Admiral Thexvor, welcome to our solar system. I am Commander Min Jun Park of the United Earth ship Harmony's Edge. We appreciate your visit, and we would like to offer you something before we discuss your demands." He paused, knowing his next words would either save or doom them all. "We would like to invite your fleet to observe a standard Earth military exercise. No weapons will be targeted at your vessels. No aggression will be shown. Consider it a cultural exchange. You can study our methods while we demonstrate standard Earth protocols." On the alien command ship, Thexvor stared at the communication screen. This was not how primitive species usually responded to invasion threats. Most begged for mercy or attacked desperately. This human was offering to show off military tactics. "It must be a trap," said his second-in-command. "With one ship against 200? Thexvor laughed. "Let them show us their exercise. We can learn their weaknesses before we destroy them. Besides, I am curious about species stupid enough to send a single vessel against an invasion fleet." Back on the Harmony's Edge, Park received the alien response. Vor agreed to watch the demonstration, but warned that any aggressive action would result in immediate destruction. Understood, Park replied. Please take positions at a safe distance. We will begin our exercise shortly. Park turned to his crew. Contact Earth immediately. Send all our sensor data on the alien fleet. Tell them we're buying time with an unconventional approach. Sir? Asked Lieutenant Kim. What exactly are we going to demonstrate? We're not a military vessel. Park smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. That's exactly right, Lieutenant. We're going to show them what we really are. Helm, set course for the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. The asteroid field, sir? What are we going to do there? We're going to give these aliens something to think about. Communications. Prepare to broadcast Beethoven's Ninth Symphony on all frequencies. And contact Chief Engineer Choi. Tell her to prepare the gravity manipulators for precision work. The alien fleet followed at a distance as the Harmony's edge moved toward the dense field of space rocks. Vor watched the human ship with growing confusion. The vessel showed no signs of battle preparation. Instead, it was broadcasting some kind of acoustic patterns that their computers identified as artistic expression. Music, said the tactical officer. They're playing music before battle. Strange customs, Vor muttered. Perhaps they perform rituals before dying. As the human ship entered the asteroid field, the aliens prepared to watch what they assumed would be a pathetic display of primitive weapons. They expected to see weak lasers or simple missiles. Instead, they saw something that made no sense at all. The human ship was not destroying asteroids. It was moving them. Using invisible forces, the Harmony's edge began pushing and pulling the space rocks into new positions. Slowly, carefully, with incredible precision, the aliens watched as hundreds of asteroids started forming patterns in space. What are they doing? Vor demanded. His science officer checked her instruments 3 times before answering. War Admiral, they appear to be rearranging the asteroid field. The energy output from their ship is massive, but it's not going to weapons. They're using it to move celestial bodies. Vor felt the first touch of something he had not experienced in many years of conquest. Uncertainty. The human ship continued its strange dance among the asteroids, and the aliens began to realize they might have made a serious mistake about what kind of species they were dealing with. Chief Engineer Choi Yu-jin watched her control displays with the focus of an artist. The gravity manipulators were working perfectly, reaching out with invisible hands to touch asteroids thousands of kilometers away. Each space rock responded to her commands like notes in a symphony. Asteroid Cluster 7 is in position, she reported to the bridge. Beginning formation sequence 12. Commander Park nodded. Excellent work, Chief. How are our power levels? Stable at 60%. We could do this all day if needed. On the alien flagship, War Admiral Vor stared at his tactical display in growing disbelief. The human ship had been working for 2 hours, moving asteroids into increasingly complex patterns. What started as simple geometric shapes had become something that hurt to look at. Subcommander Kretal, he called. Report. The tactical officer's voice was shaky. War Admiral. Their power output is beyond our measurement scales. They're manipulating gravitational fields across a space volume larger than most planets. The mathematical calculations required should be impossible for any organic brain to process. Are they building defenses? No, sir. They're creating art. Mathematical art. Using asteroids as construction materials. Vor felt his confidence cracking. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Species either fought back with weapons or surrendered. They did not casually rearrange star systems while playing music. The human ship moved deeper into the asteroid field, and the patterns became more complex. Rocks, weighing millions of tons, danced through space like feathers in a gentle wind. The precision was terrifying. Science Officer Velthara, Thexvor ordered. Analysis. The science officer had been running calculations for hours. Her report made the bridge fall silent. War Admiral. What they're doing should be impossible. They're calculating the gravitational interactions between thousands of objects in real time. Any mistake would cause catastrophic collisions, but they haven't made a single error. More concerning, they're doing this with a single ship. 2. What does that mean for their military capabilities? Velthara's voice dropped to a whisper. Sir, if this is their civilian technology, I cannot imagine what their military vessels are capable of. On the Harmony's edge, Lieutenant Kim monitored the alien fleet's position. Sir, they're moving back. Distance now 50,000 kilometers, and increasing. Park was not surprised. They're starting to understand. Understand what, sir? That we're not showing them a military exercise. We're showing them a basic engineering project. Chief Choi, how many asteroids are we working with now? Approximately 800, sir. All moving in coordinated patterns. And if we wanted to move those asteroids somewhere else, say, toward an enemy fleet? The chief engineer smiled. Well, sir, a rock moving at the right speed can ruin anyone's day. The aliens had reached the same conclusion. Thexvor watched as the human ship orchestrated a ballet of destruction that could wipe out his entire fleet without firing a single traditional weapon. Asteroids moving at high speed were just as deadly as missiles, and this human ship was moving hundreds of them with casual ease. They could destroy us right now, Kretal said quietly. Just redirect a few of those rocks toward our position. But they haven't, Thexvor noted. Why? The answer came in another transmission from the human ship. Commander Park appeared on screen, looking relaxed and friendly. Greetings again, War Admiral. I hope you're finding our demonstration interesting. As you can see, we're practicing standard asteroid management techniques. This is how we prepare mining sites and clear space lanes for construction projects. Thexvor found his voice. You call this standard procedure? Of course, this is basic space engineering. We do this kind of work every day throughout our solar system. Would you like to see our planetary terraforming techniques? We have a few dead worlds in nearby systems that we've been meaning to renovate. The casual offer to reshape entire worlds as a demonstration hit the alien command crew like a physical blow. They were watching a species that considered moving planets to be routine maintenance. Sir, called the communications officer from the Harmony's edge, I'm receiving transmissions from the alien fleet. Their communications are not encrypted. They appear to be in some form of panic. Park nodded. What are they saying? Multiple conversations, sir. References to impossible technology and species classification error. One transmission mentioned something called an extinction-level contact scenario. Lieutenant Kim looked confused. Sir, what's an extinction-level contact scenario? I believe, Park said thoughtfully. It's what happens when a warlike species encounters a civilization so advanced that traditional warfare becomes meaningless. As if to prove his point, the asteroid patterns suddenly shifted. In a movement that lasted only minutes, hundreds of space rocks rearranged themselves into a perfect three-dimensional model of the alien fleet. Every ship, every formation detail, every tactical position was recreated in stone and metal. The message was impossible to misunderstand. While appearing to ignore the aliens completely, the humans had been studying every aspect of their military formation. The asteroid sculpture was not just art, it was proof that Earth had analyzed and understood every element of Zelkari battle doctrine. Thexvor stared at the rocky replica of his fleet and felt something he had not experienced since childhood. Fear. Not fear of weapons or death, but fear of the unknown. These humans had just demonstrated that they could study, understand, and recreate any military formation while making it look like entertainment. War Admiral, Velthara said quietly. If they can do this with asteroids, what can they do with planets, with stars? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. On the Harmony's edge, Commander Park watched the alien fleet's energy signatures. The ships were powering down their weapons and moving into defensive formations. Fear was replacing aggression. "Sir," asked Lieutenant Kim, "what do we do now?" Park considered the question. First contact with an aggressive species required careful handling. Too much force would make enemies. Too little would invite more attacks. But there was a third option that humans had developed over centuries of diplomacy. "Open a channel to the alien flagship," he said. When the connection was established, Park spoke calmly. "War Admiral Thexvor, I believe there's been a significant misunderstanding about our respective intentions. Would you and your senior staff like to come aboard for tea? I think we need to have a proper conversation." The offer to board the human ship, given after such a display of power, was either an act of supreme confidence or supreme stupidity. Thexvor realized there was only one way to find out which. War Admiral Thexvor stood in the transport bay of the Harmony's edge, surrounded by his senior officers. Against every military protocol he had ever learned, he had accepted the human invitation. The shuttle ride from his flagship had been silent, each officer lost in their own thoughts about what they might find aboard an Earth vessel. The transport bay was not what they expected. Instead of military hardware and weapons, they found artwork on the walls and soft lighting. A human woman approached them with a warm smile. "Welcome aboard," said Dr. Lee Soo-min, the ship's xenobiology specialist. "I'm Dr. Lee. We're so excited for first contact. This is a historic moment for both our species." Thexvor studied the human. She showed no fear, no aggression, no signs of deception, just genuine enthusiasm. It was completely unlike any first contact scenario in Zelkari military training. "I have prepared a cultural presentation about Earth's approach to conflict resolution," Dr. Lee continued. "I think it will help explain some of the confusion from earlier." The aliens were escorted through corridors that looked more like a university than a warship. There were laboratories, workshops, living quarters that seemed comfortable rather than military. Windows showed the asteroid field outside, where the rock formations continued to shift in slow, hypnotic patterns. "This is not a military vessel," Sub-Commander Kretal whispered to his admiral. "No," Thexvor agreed quietly. "It is not." They entered a conference room decorated with art from dozens of different cultures. The walls showed paintings, sculptures, and photographs that celebrated diversity and cooperation. Commander Park was waiting for them, along with several other crew members. "Please, sit anywhere you're comfortable," Park said. "We've prepared refreshments based on our analysis of your biology. Nothing harmful, I assure you." The aliens took seats around a circular table. Dr. Lee activated a holographic display that began showing images of Earth's history. "When humans disagree," she began, "we have learned something important over thousands of years. Building things together works better than tearing things apart." The presentation showed massive construction projects that spanned continents. Cities built in cooperation between former enemies. Scientific research stations shared by nations that once fought wars. Space colonies established through international partnership. The Global Climate Restoration Project involved every nation on our planet working together. Dr. Lee explained. Former enemies became partners. The Europa Colonization Initiative turned a territorial dispute into a joint exploration mission. The solar system reef gardens were built by combining the resources of 12 different Earth governments. Thexvor was confused. "But surely your species has conflicts. How do you resolve territorial disputes? Resource competition?" Park leaned forward. "We discovered something interesting about those problems. Most conflicts arise from scarcity. Not enough food, not enough living space, not enough resources. But what if scarcity itself was the real enemy?" The holographic display showed images of vast manufacturing facilities in space. asteroid mining operations that produced more raw materials than Earth could use, artificial worlds created from empty space and solar energy. We don't fight over resources anymore. Park continued. We make new ones. We don't fight for territory when we can create new worlds. The problem with conquest is that it destroys value. Construction creates value. Science Officer Vel Thara spoke for the first time. You're saying that your technology has eliminated the need for warfare? Not exactly, Dr. Lee replied. We still have conflicts and disagreements, but we've found better ways to resolve them. When two groups want the same thing, we find ways to create more of that thing. When they want different things, we find ways for both groups to get what they need. She showed them images of mediation centers, international courts, and cooperative research programs. We have discovered that most problems have solutions, if you're willing to think creatively and work together. Thexvor felt his understanding of galactic politics shifting. But what about aggressive species? What about conquest and empire building? Park considered the question carefully. We understand that some species choose conquest as their primary method of expansion. But we've found that approach to be inefficient. Inefficient how? Conquest requires enormous resources to maintain. You need military forces, occupation troops, resistance, suppression, administrative control. All of that energy could be used for construction instead. Why spend decades conquering and controlling a world when you could spend the same time and resources building two new worlds? The aliens exchanged glances. This was not how galactic civilization worked. Strong species conquered weak ones. Resources were taken from the defeated and used by the victors. Empire was built through military might. Consider your current situation. Park continued gently. You brought 200 ships to conquer Earth. Those ships required enormous resources to build and maintain. The crews need food, training, equipment. The fuel and materials for this expedition could have built entire colonies. But conquest brings rewards, Kretal protested. New territories, new resources, new populations to serve the Empire. Dr. Lee nodded. Yes, but at what cost? Our analysis suggests that the resources spent on conquest typically exceed the value of what's conquered. Plus, you create enemies who will try to reconquer later. It becomes an endless cycle of warfare. She showed them economic models and resource calculations. The mathematics were complex, but the conclusion was clear. Cooperative construction created more value than competitive conquest. Furthermore, Park added, there's the question of what kind of civilization you want to build. Do you want to be remembered as a species that destroyed, or as a species that created? Thexvor felt something he had not expected. Shame. The Zelkari Dominion had conquered dozens of worlds, subjugated countless species, built an empire through force and fear. They had never questioned whether there was a better way. Your ship, he said slowly. What we witnessed today. You could have destroyed our entire fleet. Yes, Park agreed. But why would we want to? Destruction wastes resources and creates enemies. You came here because you need something. Food, territory, resources, security. Instead of fighting over those things, why not work together to create more of them? The alien officers sat in stunned silence. Everything they believed about power, progress, and civilization was being challenged by this calm human who spoke of cooperation as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. What are you proposing? Thexvor asked finally. Park smiled. We're proposing that you stay for a few days. Learn about human methods. See if there are ways our species can help each other instead of fighting. We have plenty of space projects that could use extra workers. And I suspect you have knowledge and skills that could benefit both our civilizations. You want us to work together? Why not? You're here. We're here. And the universe is big enough for everyone. Besides, I think your warriors might enjoy building things instead of breaking them. There's something deeply satisfying about creation that destruction can never match. Texvor looked around the table at his officers. They were soldiers who had spent their entire lives following orders to conquer and destroy. The idea of building instead of breaking was so foreign it was almost incomprehensible. But as he thought about the human ship's display of power used to create rather than destroy, he began to wonder if perhaps the galaxy had been doing things wrong for a very long time. 3 weeks later, War Admiral Texvor stood on the observation deck of humanity's first orbital diplomatic station. The structure was impossible by every standard he knew. In just 21 days, human and Zelkari crews working together had built what should have taken years to complete. The station floated in Earth orbit like a flower made of metal and crystal. Every surface caught and reflected sunlight in patterns that seemed to dance. It was both functional and beautiful, combining human artistic vision with Zelkari engineering precision. "It is remarkable," he said to Commander Park, who stood beside him watching the construction crews finish the external antenna arrays. "What's remarkable is how quickly your people adapted to cooperative construction methods," Park replied. "Some of our engineers said the Zelkari have natural instincts for three-dimensional thinking that humans lack." Through the transparent walls, they could see mixed crews of humans and aliens working on the station's final systems. The Zelkari warriors had traded their battle armor for construction gear and seemed to genuinely enjoy their new roles. "Sub-Commander Krital asked me yesterday if he could stay permanently," Texvor said. "He claims that building things gives him more satisfaction than destroying them ever did. That's not unusual. We've found that most species prefer creation once they try it. The problem is that galactic culture has convinced everyone that conquest is the only path to prosperity." Texvor nodded sadly. "For centuries, the Zelkari have believed that strength comes from taking what others have built. We never considered that strength might come from building something new." Dr. Lee Su-min approached them, carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, Commander, I have the latest reports from the communication array tests. We're successfully receiving signals from 17 different star systems." "Any responses to our peaceful contact messages?" Park asked. 3 so far. 2 species are interested in trade negotiations. 1 is asking if we can help them with a terraforming project." Texvor was amazed. "They want your help with terraforming?" "Apparently, word is spreading about human construction capabilities, Dr. Lee explained. "Several species have planets that could be habitable with the right engineering work. They're offering resource-sharing agreements in exchange for technical assistance." "And you'll help them?" "Of course," Park said. "More habitable worlds benefit everyone. Plus, each project teaches us new techniques that make future projects easier." The concept still seemed strange to Texvor. In his experience, knowledge and technology were kept secret to maintain military advantages. The idea of sharing advanced techniques with potential competitors went against everything he had learned about galactic politics. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Dr. Lee checked her tablet and frowned. "What is it?" Park asked. "Long-range sensors are detecting another fleet approaching the edge of the solar system. Configuration suggests Vorthak Empire vessels. Approximately 50 ships, all military class." Texvor felt his old instincts return. "The Vorthak are more aggressive than we are. They conquer first and ask questions later. If they're coming here, they intend to claim Earth for their empire." Park seemed unconcerned. "Do they typically respond to diplomatic communications?" "No. Their approach is to destroy any resistance immediately, then sort out the consequences later." "I see. Well, that's unfortunate for them." The calmness in Park's voice surprised Texvor. "Commander, you need to understand. The Vorthak Empire has conquered hundreds of systems. They have advanced weapons and battle-tested tactics. They won't be impressed by asteroid arrangements." "Probably not," Park agreed. "Dr. Lee, Please contact Earth Defense Command. Let them know we have visitors coming. Already done, sir. Admiral Kim sends her regards and says the construction fleets have been notified. Construction fleets? Thexvor was confused. Park walked to the main viewing window and pointed toward Jupiter. You didn't think the Harmony's Edge was our only ship, did you? As Thexvor watched, space around Jupiter began to change. What had appeared to be empty space revealed itself to contain dozens of massive structures. Ships that had been hidden among Jupiter's moons and asteroid clouds emerged like flowers blooming in fast motion. How many ships do you have? He whispered. Ships? Oh, those aren't ships. Those are mobile construction platforms. We use them for large-scale engineering projects. Building space stations, moving asteroids, creating artificial gravity wells, that sort of thing. The structures coming online around Jupiter were enormous. Each one was larger than any warship the Zelkari had ever built. And they moved with the same casual precision that the Harmony's Edge had shown weeks ago. Each platform can manipulate matter and energy on a planetary scale, Dr. Lee explained. We use them to build new worlds, redirect comets, construct solar collectors, standard terraforming equipment. Thexvor counted at least 20 of the massive platforms, with more appearing as they powered up their systems. And these are civilian vessels? Entirely civilian. Park confirmed. Though, I suppose they could be used defensively if necessary. The gravitational manipulators that we use to move planets could redirect incoming missiles. The matter forges that build space stations could probably disable weapons systems. The energy projectors that light new suns might interfere with ship electronics. The casual way Park described planetary-scale weapons as construction tools sent chills through Thexvor. Humanity had not built a military to defend against conquest. They had built an industrial base so advanced that military conquest was meaningless. The Vorthok will see this as a military deployment, he warned. Then perhaps they'll be smart enough to communicate instead of attack. Dr. Lee received another message. Sir, Earth Defense Command reports contact with the Vorthak fleet. They're demanding immediate surrender, or they'll open fire. Standard procedure, Park mused. How did Admiral Kim respond? She invited them to observe a terraforming demonstration. Apparently, we have a dead world in the Proxima Centauri system that's been scheduled for atmosphere generation. Thexvor stared at Park in disbelief. You're going to terraform a planet as a warning? Not as a warning, Park corrected. As an invitation. The same invitation we made to you. If they want to see what humanity is capable of, we'll show them. Not our capacity for destruction, but our capacity for creation. Through the station's communications system, they could hear Admiral Kim's transmission to the Vorthak fleet. Welcome to the Sol system. Before we discuss your demands, would you like to see how we create new worlds? We think you'll find it educational. Thexvor realized that humanity was about to do something that would change galactic civilization forever. Not through conquest or war, but by demonstrating that there was a better way to expand across the stars. Your species, he said quietly, is going to terrify the entire galaxy. No, Park replied, watching the construction platforms arrange themselves for the journey to Proxima Centauri. We're going to inspire them. Fear comes from scarcity and competition. But the universe is infinite, and there's room for everyone to build something wonderful. As the massive platforms began their transition to faster-than-light travel, carrying enough power and technology to create an entire world, Thexvor understood that he was witnessing the dawn of a new age. An age where strength was measured not by what you could destroy, but by what you could create. The question was whether the rest of the galaxy would be wise enough to recognize the opportunity humanity was offering. 6 months after first contact, Commander Park stood in the garden section of the new interstellar diplomatic center orbiting Proxima Centauri. Through the transparent dome overhead, he could see the world that had been transformed from a lifeless rock into a garden planet in just 4 months. The Vorthak Empire had not lasted a week after witnessing the terraforming demonstration. It was not the display of power that convinced them, explained Admiral Kim as she joined Park in the garden. It was the offer to help them terraform their own worlds instead of taking ours. The garden around them was tended by a mixed crew of humans, Zelkari, and former Vorthak warriors. The aggressive empire had dissolved almost overnight when their soldiers discovered they preferred building gardens to burning cities. The psychological impact was fascinating, said Dr. Lee, who had become humanity's chief xenosocial specialist. Most galactic species are trapped in a scarcity mindset. They believe resources are limited, so they must take from others to survive. We simply proved that assumption wrong. Park watched a group of Vorthok engineers working with human technicians to install atmospheric processors on a nearby asteroid. The former conquerors had become some of the most enthusiastic students of human construction techniques. How many species have made contact now? He asked. 43, Admiral Kim replied. Word is spreading faster than our communication networks can handle. Most are requesting technical assistance with resource development projects. A few are asking for help with environmental restoration on worlds damaged by previous wars. And opposition? Surprisingly little. 3 species have rejected contact entirely, but they're not threatening military action. They seem content to maintain isolation, as long as we don't approach their territory. Dr. Lee consulted her tablet. The most interesting development is the formation of what they're calling the Construction Cooperative. 17 species, working together on joint infrastructure projects. They're planning to build a new trade route that connects 40 star systems through strategically placed space stations. Park smiled. Cooperation, instead of conquest. It's working. Better than working, Admiral Kim said. It's spreading. We're receiving reports of former enemy species forming partnerships to build rather than fight. Entire empires are transitioning from military conquest to collaborative construction. A soft chime announced an incoming priority transmission. The holographic display activated to show War Admiral Thexvor. Though his title had changed, he now wore the uniform of a construction coordinator for the Zelkari Cooperative. Commander Park, Admiral Kim, he said with a smile that had become natural over the months. I have excellent news. The hegemony of Krex has agreed to joint citizenship with the Zelkari Cooperative. They're abandoning their conquest fleet in favor of a construction alliance. The hegemony? Admiral Kim was surprised. They've been one of the most aggressive expansion empires for centuries. They were, Thexvor agreed, until they saw what we accomplished here. Coordinator Vrex himself said that building new worlds was more satisfying than conquering old ones. They're contributing their entire military fleet to be converted into construction platforms. Park felt a deep sense of satisfaction. How are your people adapting to the changes? Better than I ever hoped. Young Zelkari are requesting training in construction techniques instead of military tactics. Our birth rate has increased by 30% as families feel more secure about the future. Most remarkably, our cultural depression rates have dropped almost to 0. Cultural depression? Something we didn't realize we had, Thexvor explained. Apparently, civilizations based on conquest create deep psychological stress, always preparing for war, always fearing attack, always destroying what others have built. Our medical specialists say that switching to construction-based culture has eliminated most stress-related illnesses. Dr. Lee made notes on her tablet. We're seeing similar effects across all species that have joined the cooperative. Construction appears to be psychologically healthier than conquest. It makes sense, Park said. Humans discovered this centuries ago. Building things together creates bonds between people and between cultures. Destroying things creates trauma and fear. Admiral Kim received an urgent message. After reading it, she looked up with an expression of concern. What is it? Park asked. Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from the galactic core. Configuration unknown, but the energy signatures are enormous. At least 500 ships, all of unprecedented size. The mood in the garden became tense. After months of peaceful contact and cooperation, the threat of a major military confrontation felt like a return to darker times. Could be the hegemon-class civilizations, Thexvor said grimly. The ancient empires from the galactic center. If they view the construction cooperative as a threat to traditional galactic order, they might attempt to destroy it through force. Park considered their options. How long until they arrive? 6 days, Admiral Kim replied. Not enough time to gather our construction fleets for a defensive demonstration. Maybe we don't need a demonstration, Dr. Lee suggested. Maybe we need something else. She activated her tablet and began showing them cultural analysis data. I've been studying the psychological patterns of species that resist cooperative development. They're not afraid of our construction capabilities. They're afraid of losing their cultural identity. Conquest-based civilizations define themselves through military victory. If conquest becomes obsolete, what happens to their sense of purpose? Park understood immediately. They're not coming to destroy us. They're coming to preserve themselves. Exactly. We need to show them that cooperation doesn't eliminate cultural identity. It enhances it. Admiral Kim was skeptical. How do we prove that to 500 warships? Park walked to the edge of the garden dome and looked out at the transformed world below. Human settlements blended seamlessly with Zelkari architecture and Vorthak artistic traditions. Each species had contributed their unique strengths to create something beautiful that none could have achieved alone. We show them what we've built here, he said. Not the terraforming technology, not the construction platforms, not the raw power. We show them the culture. The culture? A civilization where every species contributes their best qualities. Where Zelkari engineering precision combines with human artistic vision and Vorthak environmental harmony. Where being different makes you valuable instead of threatening. Dr. Lee smiled. A demonstration that cooperation creates cultural diversity instead of destroying it. Over the next 6 days, the fastest communication networks ever built carried a message across the galaxy. Every species in the construction cooperative contributed something unique to a grand cultural exhibition. Art, music, literature, philosophy, science, and engineering from 43 different civilizations. When the ancient fleet arrived at the edge of the Proxima system, they found not a military force waiting for them, but an invitation to the greatest celebration of cultural diversity the galaxy had ever seen. The response came 12 hours later. 500 massive ships, each one older than human civilization, requested permission to join the festivities. As Park watched the ancient vessels dock with the cooperative space stations, he realized that humanity had accomplished something unprecedented. Not through military conquest or technological superiority, but through the simple recognition that the universe was large enough for everyone to build something wonderful. The age of galactic war was ending. The age of galactic construction had begun, and it had started with one construction ship showing a bunch of aggressive aliens that sometimes the best way to win a war is to refuse to fight it.